Welcome back to Hotties.
Hey guys, we have all the babies with us today. Julie's down there, Monty in my lap.
It's a cozy afternoon.
Yep, they've been very bad today, so they're getting timeout time.
It's a treat to be down here with us, let's be
Yeah.
honest. Today
Hmm.
we're going to talk about attachment theory and we're going to go into neurodivergent attachment theory, which I'm super excited to
Yeah.
share.
Yeah, I don't know much about it being like separated like that, so that's cool.
Yeah,
All right.
here we go.
Hotties. Yeah, welcome to the Audie Hottie podcast.
Here we are. All right, welcome back. My name's McKenna,
And I'm Bree.
and today we're talking attachment theory. But first,
Ow, but first I'm being bit.
Bree got bit by Monty. Stinker cat.
Yep.
We have had holidays. We have
Mhm.
had a little bit of a break.
Yep.
What are your updates? Tell me everything that's going on or nothing that's going on if you don't want to talk about
Hmm.
anything.
Yeah, I was telling you about how on New Year's Day, I went and New Year's Eve, I went and made some little vision boards for the year with a
So
friend and
cute.
slowly making more friends for my volleyball group. So
Love
went and
it.
did that. And I've never actually done one before where you do like the magazine cutouts and stuff.
You
I've done
haven't?
kind of like a vision board, like, but more on my computer where I just kind of like put together things. And I always make like goal lists,
Got it.
but it's more like written, not like
Yeah.
creative. And so that
Yeah.
was kind of fun to do something creative with it.
Did you like doing something different?
Yeah, it was fun, especially with people. I don't know
Yeah.
if I would do it by myself because then I'd just be like, wow, look at my abstract art.
That's so funny. Well, I told you I like started doing cutouts of magazines
Mhm.
probably back in October, and they've just been sitting on my counter,
Yeah.
like in a bowl, waiting to be like put onto a vision board.
The hardest part though was really like the deciding where to put them and like
Totally.
gluing things down officially. So that
Yeah.
is the hard part. You're
No,
like, I
it's
got
a
all these ideas.
big commitment. I still have one. I think it's from like 8 or 9 years ago, and it's actually by my bed.
Uh-huh.
And I obviously need to make a new one because there's even things on there that like I just don't really relate to anymore. But like
Mm.
I love it, and I've loved it for it's gone from every single house that I've lived in. It's gone. Wait, how do I say
It's
that?
gone with you.
It's gone with me.
Yeah.
Every house. And I just love having it up, but I think it's time to like make a new one.
Cool.
So anyway,
Yeah.
that's fun. Anything else?
No, lots of stuff happening, but it's just life.
It's
Life
just
going by.
life. It's
Mm.
just life. I know. I went to Disneyland for
Yeah.
New Year's, which was actually really cool because I went with some close friends and it was kind of like, um, what do you like a pilgrimage of sorts
Oh.
or like I don't know. It's just I met one of these friends about 10 years ago and we bonded over like Disney things and have never
Uh,
gone together. And
mhm.
then the other person that we went with, we lived all three of us together and it was just like we've never done any traveling together or anything. And it was just so much fun to
Mhm.
just be with them for like 48, 72 hours. But it was super interesting going with like just a lot of sensory education in mind.
Mm.
And like I had my loops in probably 25% of the time because it was so loud and
Nice.
like had a change of clothes to like change and everything. It was just like a very different Disney experience. And also, I don't have to go back. So, like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it was
Mm.
really fun, but it was also like, huh, I have this much fun doing other things too, and maybe even
Okay.
more fun and like less stimulating environments. So, like,
Hmm.
but also it was raining the whole time. And there wasn't like any
Less
parades.
magical.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So it was
Mm.
like one of those things where I think it was good, all the factors considered. But anyway,
Mhm.
I know that like we've been talking about Disney and like
Yeah.
supporting it or not. So I
Yeah.
wanted to share that I
Oh.
went and
Did you do did you do like a fireworks night or anything or
okay, so since it was New Year's Eve, this is also hilarious. So we rope dropped, which means that you go when the park opens and
Oh.
you actually get there before the park opens at 8. So we get there at 7 a.m. and then it closed at 2 a.m. So
Mm.
we planned to be there until at least midnight, if not 2 a.m.,
Wow.
because it was New Year's Eve, right?
Yeah.
And there was going to be this big fireworks show at midnight, but there's also going to be one at 9 p.m.
Okay.
for Eastern Standard Time. So we go to watch this fireworks show that's supposed to be huge. And like I think I talked about it on the podcast that it's like
So
magical and
long and
huge and
yeah.
so long. Okay, this show was like 3 minutes long.
What?
There was like it was like Old Lang Syne or
Mm,
whatever, but like nothing. You know how like sometimes you'll watch Disney shows and they're like an inspiring message for the year or
mm.
whatever, magic, nothing. It was bizarre. And
Huh.
so we looked at each other when it was over and we were like, okay,
Okay.
that was, we don't need to see the one at midnight. And then we like went on maybe three more rides and then we were like, I think we're done. So we went back to the hotel.
Long time though. You were still there over 12
No,
hours.
it was big day.
Yeah.
And it was the second day because we had gone the day
Uh,
before on December 30th.
uh,
So my hip
wow.
was fried by the actually it was fried by the end of day one. So
Hmm.
then we got up again and did day two and but
Yeah.
it was just it was nice to like we left at 11:30,
Hmm.
got back. There wasn't a crowd leaving with us because everyone was staying till midnight or whatever. And we got back to the room at like 11:57, got free champagne from the hotel,
What?
cheers,
There
and then we went to sleep. It was
you go.
the best. And I'm just realizing like I don't need like the big dramatics anymore. I don't
Yeah.
know. In a life that like I think that I've grown from like
Hmm.
needing that the drama and having it
Yeah.
be a big deal and whatnot.
Mm.
So
Did you take any other like accommodation related things with you? Like you did the loops,
I brought a fidget.
had a
I
fidget.
brought my Neato. I don't know. I dressed very comfortably.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't think I did anything else
Yeah.
sensory wise.
The one thing that I think now I would have to take for a park situation like that would
Yeah.
be some kind of like the collapsible stools of some kind, like either like one of the tripody kind of one that closes or like have you seen the plastic one that like down and it like
No.
it's a stool
Yeah, Dawn?
to sit on, yeah.
Yeah, that would
Because
be a great idea.
I get a lot of back pain from standing in place, or what I call
Yeah.
is like the museum walk, where
Hmm.
you're like walking, but it's like walk, stop, and that same like lines,
Yeah.
stop, walk. It really sets off a lot of back pain, and I think that's partly from hypermobility and like
Hmm.
standing in an like arched position, and like even if I try to shift around, it's pretty painful. So like I need to
Hmm.
sit after a while.
No, it makes a lot of sense. And now that you say that, I probably could have brought that. Instead, I just like leaned on walls
Lean on
and
everything you can get to, yeah.
line cues, and I sat a lot. Like, we took a lot of breaks. I
That's
think that
good.
all three of us, before we even went to the parks on Monday, just had like a pretty light but in-depth conversation of just like what expectations were and like what we wanted to do, what we would be fine with missing. And then like
Mm,
that really set a great tone for me to say like I'm gonna need to sit, I'm gonna probably need to like snack and have a lot of water and like I'll probably need like sensory breaks.
yeah.
And then like when those would come up, it would just be easy to like work through and
Oh,
it was funny. I think that both Tevis and Grace were the friends I went with, but I think that they expected me to take a lot more sensory breaks than like I
uh,
was even planning on doing. And it was just nice to like be expected to show up in that way. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So, it was a lot of, it was healing for like a lot of reasons, and that was definitely one of them.
Oh,
So,
love
huh.
that.
um, shall we get into attachment theory?
Yeah, sounds
Okay.
good. Mm,
Well, I was going to start with just saying like what the attachment theory is in terms of like the buzzwords around it,
mm.
the stereotypical attachment theory. This is the one that the book Secure Attachment or
Okay.
called Attached
Yeah,
was written
yeah.
was written about. The theory itself was developed in the 1950s
Okay.
by John Bowlby. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. But it was based on neurotypical kids. When I move into neurodivergent attachment theory after this, that's more based on neurodivergent kids.
Okay.
And why I mention that it's based on kids is because it's this idea that infants and caregivers, their relationship really affects how people's emotions are regulated, supported, and built.
Mm.
So, emotional development, if you will. So there are 5 types that I have heard of, and it's also in the book attached. That's going to be secure, anxious, avoidant, fearful avoidant, and disorganized attachment. I was going to go through each one. So, secure attachment is when the child felt safe to explore,
Mm.
the caregiver was sensitive and responsive, and what it grows into is emotional availability, adults that are confident and they feel safe in attachments. So that's kind of not the standard, but like the most emotional healthy and
Mm.
what all the other attachments want to grow to if
Okay.
they want to be healthy in attachment. Anxious attachment comes from having an inconsistent caregiver. So was sometimes supportive of their child, sometimes wasn't able to show up for their child for a various amount of reasons. But in adulthood, this can show up as fear of abandonment or low self-esteem. Avoidant attachment comes from an emotionally unavailable caregiver, and that is also from like being self-sufficient kids. So
Mm.
if you were a kid and felt like you needed to do everything and like you couldn't rely on your parent, or like if you were in pain, couldn't go to your parent, weren't listened to.
I think those are the kids that are often called the like little adults. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
you're like an adult. You're so mature and like yep.
Exactly. Exactly. So again, that turns into adults that are like highly independent, but also feel a lot of emotional distance or feel like emotional distance is safe,
Mm.
and also are conflict avoidant. So the next two, are a little bit more evolved avoidant, where there's just different circumstances that have brought them to fruition. Fearful avoidant is when the caregiver was inconsistent, but there was also emotional or physical abuse.
Mm.
And this can show up in adulthood as like that push and pull feeling of like really wanting to be connected to someone, but not knowing how to do it
Mm.
safely, conflicting desires, a lot of emotional dysregulation, and usually coming from a place of like very low self-esteem and just not understanding how to establish safety in a
Mm.
relationship. And then the disorganized avoidant theory, again, it's evolved from the avoidant theory, but the caregiver was both a source of comfort and fear.
Mm.
So it's like growing up in an unpredictable environment, and now it's a lot of internal conflict and not really trusting yourself, and also having conflicting behaviors, saying one thing, doing something else. So when someone brings up attachment theory or like, what's your attachment style?
Mm.
These 5 are usually what people will come back to.
Mm.
And for a long time, it's the only attachment theory that I knew of as well. And it was always really strange for me to go through these because, you can think about it through a lens of how you are as an adult in relationships, but you can also look at it from like how your caregivers raised you and how you felt emotionally supported by them.
Mm.
And it was always so hard for me because I know that I was emotionally supported by my parents and that I had consistent support and care, and it was always me that kind of like either didn't believe it. It doesn't fit into the secure attachment style because I'm not really a confident adult and I'm not really like I'm working towards feeling safe in attachments, but I think that it's taken me a lot of work. So it was always
Mhm.
very confusing for me.
Yeah, I think one of the things that confuses me is the fluidity of it because it sounds like something that's just like it is what you are.
Yeah.
Like, and you maybe are growing towards something else, but it doesn't like change a lot. And
Yes.
for me, in my experience, it feels like varied. Like it can be like a response to a certain type of
Mhm.
interaction is
Yes.
more anxious or is more secure, that kind of thing. And even to the individual relationship may be different, like based on how the other person responds back and that kind of thing. So,
I
mm,
completely agree. And also, I don't know if you've experienced this, but even from like growing up thinking you were one attachment style, going through a major breakup or a major like traumatic experience in your
mm,
adulthood and then changing attachment styles completely.
yeah.
And then like it's just a whirlwind of figuring out who am I? And like, wait a minute, I was this way with my parents and now I'm this way as an adult. Like this doesn't
Mhm.
make any sense, but like I see where the theory comes from and I feel like there's a little bit of like internal gaslighting too. Anyway, before I get into the neurodivergent attachment theory, how do you feel like you've shown up? Like, do you feel like you relate to having one or multiple?
I feel like I'm secure in a lot of ways, and then anxious in most scenarios that come up. Occasionally avoidant,
Interesting.
but anxious more often than
Yeah,
anything. Yeah.
I'd
Mostly
say,
a lot of like asking for verbal reassurance and like,
hmm
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, and I feel like anxious attachment is that stereotype of like you're always wanting to be in communication with your partner and always wanting them to tell you that everything's okay and
Mhm.
always needing that, like you said, reassurance in the safety of your relationship. The good news is that I feel like the neurodivergent attachment theory
Mhm.
is a lot more, it just makes more sense.
Okay.
And so it comes from a paper that was just published in 2025.
Oh,
So
awesome.
it's brand new
I was gonna
research.
say I've never heard of one there
Yeah.
being a separate attachment theory system.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
it came across on TikTok. Of course it did.
Mhm.
So the TikTok was Chloe S. Craft, if you want to go and look her up. And she's who I found that talked about it but didn't write the paper.
Mhm.
The person who wrote the paper, their name is Monshing Let's Swallow. And I can put their name in the
Yes,
description
the
because
visual of how that's written. Mhm.
but it was just written in May of 2025. So
Oh.
brand new research. And what they what they focused on is that this is patterns of your nervous system and your
Mhm.
nervous system regulation, and that it can move around and
Okay.
oscillate between
Mhm.
them, and also like takes into account that the original attachment theory was purely for neurotypical kids. So
Mm.
looking at it from a lens of like neurodivergence entirely, neurodivergent brains and how they are different than neurotypical brains, which
Mhm.
I just really appreciated that
Yeah.
in learning because as I was going through these, I was like, gosh, these make a lot of sense. And
Yeah.
it also makes a lot of sense that it oscillates and changes.
Mhm.
So I'm going to go through all of them. There's five of them.
Okay.
And I have different examples of like ways that this would show up. So I think that what I'm going to do is go over each attachment theory, what it is, and how it would show up. And then I want to talk about if you relate to any of them.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
So the first one they talk about is sensory secure attachment. So this would be most compared, I think, to secure attachment,
Okay.
but it's when you have your co-regulation skills, you really know what you need and you're able to access it. You have authentic presence, meaning that you are comfortable unmasking
Mhm.
or are in environments where you know when and how you can mask or unmask. You allow clear communication. So, talking about your boundaries, talking about what you need, and really just honoring where you're at. And they say that this also comes from a caregiver honoring where
Mm.
a person has been at. So, in terms of neurodivergence, the sensory secure is just being able to have regulation, and from that having like you're able to attach to others.
Okay. Mm.
The masking avoidant is what comes next. Oh, what did
Number,
you?
number two?
Number two, I thought you did a peace sign. Like, I'm a
I
masking avoidant. I was like, how do you even have you heard
haven't even heard it yet. I already know.
masking
Let's say
avoidant?
number two. Mm,
So we're
okay.
looking at this from a nervous system lens. So this is when connection can feel dangerous.
Mm,
So people can feel show up cold. Um, but also their belief is that their real self comes at a cost and showing their real self comes at a cost. So it's this call to like not be vulnerable and mask at all times.
mm,
This also comes from rejection sensitivity, where like rejection can feel unbearable. So masking in order to protect yourself.
mm,
It's a way to like survive the environment. So different ways that this can show up is saying I'm fine when you're really not fine, pulling away after opening up,
mm,
canceling plans, over replaying or intellectualizing feelings, and then keeping conversations surface level.
mm,
So not feeling safe to go deep, not feeling safe to like really dig into your emotional self. Um, Sometimes I wonder if like canceling plans comes from just like not really knowing what your needs are and just like
mm,
feeling overwhelmed and shutting off immediately. Same thing with like pulling away after opening up, like see, like thinking that you're able to open up, but then like feeling so uncomfortable after becoming close with someone.
mhm.
Um, I also have ways to heal. So
Oh,
we'll
okay.
go back.
Yeah.
So for ways to heal masking avoidant, what was said was that you find people and spaces where you don't have to perform and you practice unmasking in really
Mm,
safe spaces, and that you shift towards your authentic self feeling dangerous and like wanting to avoid that to shifting into your authentic self, bringing a lot more closeness with others
mm,
in safe environments. So that's the masking avoidant. I think it relates to a lot of the avoidant attachment theory as well, just
okay.
like in terms of connection feeling unsafe and coldness, but I really like how it brings in the why and also like the masking component because that's
Mm,
so, I mean, think of all of the rhetoric around um like high maskers or whatever and just
mm,
like never feeling like you can show your true self and not being able to open up in that way.
yeah.
So that was the second one.
Okay. Agree.
Number three is actually a hyperfocus attachment.
Hyper focus attachment. Okay.
Yeah. So this
Mm,
is when you can have a special interest latch with someone. It is not limerence, it's not enmeshment, and it's also not codependence.
hmm.
But it's going to sound like that.
Okay.
And the reason why it's different is because we are looking at this from a nervous system regulation lens and not necessarily how you were raised or behaviors that you have.
Mm,
So being with someone else feels like regulation. Your nervous system literally leans on that person. Your relationship might look like it's enmeshed, where when you're with your person, you feel safe, you feel like yourself. When you're apart from them, it's very hard. However, you can also be told or believe that you are too much with your feelings, that you really rely on that other person for regulation purposes, and you save all of your bottled up feelings for them.
mm,
So, ways that this can show up is like looping, replaying everything in your brain, regulating through them. So, again, when they're gone, you're having a really hard time
mm,
losing track of yourself, which is not like abandoning yourself. It's more like forgetting your own needs, such as
mm.
like drinking water or staying fed.
Almost like you're like so. linked into what they're doing that you are less worried about what yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. It could be moving fast emotionally and then also struggling to pull back. Like you either can't stop thinking about this person, the loop won't turn off. So this to me sounds a lot like anxious attachment theory.
Mm.
Um, but again, I really love how it pulls in the nervous system regulation component because it makes so much sense to me.
Yeah.
I feel like I moved into this into in my last relationship. I started off very secure and then like not quickly, but like gradually as my nervous system became more and more dysregulated, as more and more shit started happening, I became I my nervous system just only felt safe when I was with my ex.
Mm.
And it's been wild to grow from that and realize that it was almost like my nervous system was like addicted and could
Mm.
only regulate through like touch with my ex or like feeling heard by them.
I feel like addiction is like really good like comparison to how that seemed like it would feel.
Yeah.
Because when I think of like the regular anxious attachments, I think it comes from more from like the control side of
Yes.
things, whereas this feels like an out of control, like
Yes.
I can't help myself type thing.
Absolutely. And I know that for me, it was like when I was in it, I didn't really understand
Mm.
also that like that was going on. I had glimpses of thinking like, gosh, am I codependent or I am I enmeshed? And I again never really related to those things, even though there's like a lot of overlap between all of it. It was like, I don't feel like this is a control thing. I literally feel like I'm out of control, which is exactly what you said.
Yeah.
So, healing this attachment is bringing yourself back to yourself and understanding that, like, developing regulation tools for yourself, leaning on co-regulation rather than, uh, what is the other word? It's not co-regulation. Oh my God, it's in my brain. What is it when you're leaning on someone complete codependency?
Yeah, that's what you've been saying before. It's
Yeah,
codependency. Mm.
there's another word. Oh, this is so annoying.
Is it another co something?
I don't
You don't
know.
know. Okay.
I feel like it's another regulation word because it's like you are you are co-regulating with your person, but you also have this balance of like you can also regulate within as well. So it's not this codependent bond.
Yeah.
Also, like asking yourself, is the connection with your person even bringing back, like fostering a way back to yourself, or is it a lot more external? And is your nervous system reliant on it? And like, how can you heal that?
Okay. Yeah.
So,
Mm.
yeah.
It makes a lot of sense that you'd need to like pull focus back to yourself
Hmm.
and like I don't know, maybe through a lot of like meditation related things
Hmm.
or like touching back into your body, maybe somatic therapy, that kind of thing to get back to, okay, I am a separate person from this other person and
Yes.
I need to like meet my own needs and be with them because I want to, not because I'm compulsively like,
Totally.
yeah.
No, I completely agree. And finding ways to build self-esteem and really being gentle with yourself
Self-esteem's a
too.
big one.
Oh my God, it's huge.
Yeah.
Dare we say the foundation of it all?
Yeah.
Um, okay, so the fourth attachment style uh, is when your nervous system can get caught in a cycle where one minute you're craving connection and the other minute the connection feels unsafe. So this reminds me a lot of the fearful avoidant push and pull.
Does this one have a name or
However,
is this
the looping disorganized attachment.
looping disorganized attachment?
Yes.
Okay, that was a
Did
lot.
I say that?
No, you didn't.
Looping disorganized attachment
Looping
is number
disorganized.
4.
Okay.
Um, this one is also very fascinating because again, we're looking at it from nervous system and from a neurodivergent lens. And the push and pull is because of the way your sensory system is either regulated or dysregulated. So,
Right.
you know, you could want closeness, but then feel sensory overwhelm. You could feel close and then have rejection sensitivity and then want to pull back.
Mm.
Your nervous system can go into panic mode. And um, one way that I think that this could show up is like if 1 minute you're wanting to feel close to your partner and they touch you and then you like immediately come back, or it feels like a shiver or it doesn't feel safe. So
Mm.
like wanting it, but also not being able to take it on because of your nervous system being fried for whatever reason.
Mm.
So,
I think that makes a lot of sense too with variations in how touch can feel
yes,
to autistic people. It's like either
absolutely.
a touch can feel the same touch can feel very soothing and nice and calming, and other times can feel painful
Mhm.
and like make you withdraw from it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I went through this really weird experience where every single time, like it was during a very stressful like season of grad school. And I remember touch feeling actually really scary and like really startling. And it
Mhm.
had never been anything that I had experienced before. And I think my nervous system was just shot and had no idea how to even take in the touch communication at all and just
Mhm.
didn't know where to sort it. And instead of
Signals
it
are confused.
yeah, and
Yeah.
instead of it looking at it as comfort, my body felt it as a threat, which
Yeah.
was just so interesting because I knew like logically and emotionally that I was safe, but my
Mhm.
body was telling me otherwise, which maybe I wasn't as safe as I thought I was.
Yeah. Mm.
Hindsight's 2020. So some examples of the looping disorganized is again that push and pull reach. So you'll crave co closeness. Maybe you'll text and you'll reach out. And then when you get the response from the person, you might ignore or retreat.
Mm.
That also could be like, I wonder, a little bit of PDA of like a demand being put on you to
Mm.
respond. Um, your body feels like there's double alarms where there's like where you feel like you're running towards connection, but also feel like you need to pull away. Like it's very simultaneously happening.
Mm.
You might have rumination spirals, replaying conversations, having it on a loop, looking for where there's any danger. Um, we just talked about touch whiplash, so craving touch, and then like the next, your body is jolted.
Mm.
And then this was interesting. Having trust swings where one day you'll fully trust someone and feel safe with them, and the next day you don't, and there's no logic
Mm.
or anything. It just happens.
Mm.
So I think that this is a really great neurodivergent lens and like a way to honor those that are neurodivergent because um I think that even though there are some like hurtful behaviors that can come from this, I think that it's a really good framework to work from and understand either what you or your partner is going through if they have a looping disorganized attachment,
Mm.
um, rather than the fearful attachment that it's kind of compared to.
Yeah.
Because the healing for this really does have to do with like co-regulation techniques and also like calling you to yourself and knowing your needs
Mm.
and like a lot of nervous system work of bringing your body back into balance. Like it's not really about the relationship, it's really about your nervous
Right.
system.
I mean, that's a good place to put it too, because for people to understand that the action or the behavior is not necessarily because of the other person. Like, because I've definitely had partners have a hard time understanding, like, okay, well, why can't I touch you today in this way? Or
Yeah.
like, and things changing so much like day to day,
Hmm.
based on overstimulation and everything else going on. So,
Totally.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I know.
Mhm.
I really liked hearing that one as well, and also feel like I have been in that as well. Like,
Mhm.
actually, I don't know if we've talked about where we've been at, so I'm gonna keep that. Keep that in.
Mm.
Um, okay, the next one,
One.
five.
Mhm.
is the cognitive connector
Oh,
attachment.
okay.
I love this one. So, this is when your nervous system feels more at ease when ideas line up. So, it's a lot more like logic leading,
Hmm.
where you feel connected to someone based on ideas you share or conversations you have. Um, the emotional component is there, but it's like your brain is kind of checking the safety of it. So
Hmm.
once you connect intellectually, your emotions feel safe to connect with another.
Hmm.
I think that this sounds a lot like demisexuality.
Yeah, I can
Yeah,
see that, yeah.
where it's like you have to build that emotional connection with someone before you can like have that bond or connect sexually.
Yeah. Mhm.
So parts of this was, nope, I already said everything there. So,
Mm,
so examples of this is that you might feel conversation craving. You feel most connected through dialogue. Depth diving. So you rather would get into like meaningful and real conversations rather than catch-up conversations or small talk. Um, this is really interesting. So replaying loops, but not in an obsessive way. And it's more like you're holding conversations as a way of gauging your safety in the relationship, like going
mm,
back to things said of like, oh, I'm okay because this was said, or our
mm,
connection's okay because this was said. Word sensitivity. So feeling
mm,
rejected if there's a late reply or a short reply, or like a reply that you don't feel was meaningful, or that you were not seen or heard.
mm,
And then the last one is verbal anchoring. So when you feel anxious in the attachment, asking for um, that verbal confirmation that you're okay,
mm.
like asking your partner, hey, are we okay? Yeah, we're okay. So this one actually doesn't have a way of healing. It more just has a way of expanding how you're looking at things. So it's not that you are trying to shut down any sort of conversation. It's more about like finding the balance in what is said and what is left unsaid, and
Mm.
like honoring silence as much as honoring connection through language.
Okay.
So,
Mm.
yeah, I know that was a lot.
Mm.
Which ones I know that we can go back to some of them, but like which ones did you feel most resonating with?
Okay, so I think the last one
Yeah.
is definitely when I like am feeling fairly regulated, but
Yes.
I still feel the need to like not necessarily control the situation, but just like make sense of the situation before feeling safe.
Hmm.
And then the looping disorganized, is that the looping?
Yeah, like the nervous system overwhelm one.
Yeah, the one where like what we're talking about touch.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
The,
yes,
the
yes.
the looping one, I definitely feel that when I am overstimulated or like getting burnt out, that kind
Hmm.
of thing, go more into that
Yeah.
area. And I wish that I spent more time in the sensory regulated type one that we covered first, but
Yeah. Do you feel like you achieve it sometimes though?
sometimes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Which, let's go back, this theory oscillates and it changes
Mhm.
based on where your nervous system is. So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool that you are able to get to that sensory secure attachment too. Like,
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely not often because the environment is not built for it at all. But I think that's a big part of me loving this job that I'm currently at is because at my previous jobs there was like no way I'd ever get to that point because of how much overstimulation and stuff there was. At this, at least sometimes I've had enough rest, I've had enough like
mhm.
control of my time and my environment to get to that point.
It would
But
be amazing to know what we would be if we had a neurodivergent friendly world and
yeah.
environment, and like we could not necessarily control what was happening in our environments, but like if they were a little bit more friendly
Yeah.
to us.
Yeah,
What
how
types of
much more
people?
would we be in a regulated state than not?
That
Mm,
would be amazing to
yeah.
know.
Okay, what about you? Mhm.
I, so I relate, I literally think I relate to all of them
Yeah.
in different ways. I think that I relate most to the cognitive connector.
Mm,
Um,
the last one, the fifth one.
yeah,
Mhm.
just feel like my connection with others always comes down to talking with them.
Mm.
And I think that words of affirmation are like one of my biggest love language. We've talked about that before. My gosh, have we talked about neurodivergent love languages on here yet?
I can't remember.
Oh, okay. Let's look into that because
Yeah.
that's a fun one to talk about.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, and also in terms of like not feeling safe, either like thinking about a conversation that I've had with someone and their words of affirmation of like either I'm safe or cared for, or like I can't talk to you today because I have this going on, but like going back to the communication part of things, I
Hmm.
just really feel safe in. Um, but I feel like in grad school, particularly with my ex, the looping disorganized just screams at me, where it's
Yeah.
like my nervous system was so dysregulated, that there was a lot of inconsistency in how I was showing up, and I had no education on what my body needed at the time and how I needed to support myself. So I
Yeah.
think it's been really cool to experience that less, or if I am experiencing it, knowing how to work with it.
Mm.
Whether it's like taking time for myself or canceling the plans or being like brutally honest with my friends of like, hey, I'd love to see you, but like I am tapped out. Or like, I'd
Yeah.
love to see you, but can we change the plan and go to a house rather than a restaurant? Because like I'm feeling pretty overwhelmed by noise right now. I think as well, the hyper focus of like your nervous system leaning on a partner. I talked about
Mm.
that with my ex a lot. Like that really does track.
Hmm.
But I think more and more and more, I am moving towards that sensory secure attachment of like really showing up as you are, being able to like know your needs and how to co-regulate. I think that co-regulation still is a little bit uncomfortable for me and being
Hmm.
completely unmasked, which is when that like masking avoidant comes up of like not
Yeah.
really wanting to show my full true self. But again, I think that's coming from a place of low self-esteem and shame where um it's a lot of internal work that goes on. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with masking either. I
Mhm.
think that it just takes time to be able to show up as yourself with other people
Yeah.
sometimes.
Well, I think there's environments like work environment, I definitely feel that more. And it's
Yes.
not necessarily from an emotional perspective. I guess it
Yes.
is somewhat, but it is like motivated by the need to protect and feel
Yeah.
safe and also the self-esteem part of like,
Right.
do I believe that I can be a professional and also like show my unmasked self
Yeah.
and yeah.
A lot of those like those societal cue or those societal messages of like
Yeah.
you can be your full self here, but wait, don't
Yeah, I don't
you
actually
can't
feel
unmask
yeah.
and like we can't accommodate your neurodivergence, but like be your authentic self.
Yeah. I think this is really interesting with conversation in general because I've always felt like I don't know, I feel a challenge with attachment type theories because they are almost all based on like what you grew up with.
Yeah,
And while I did have some like detachment from one parent, like
right.
I have an amount of memory loss and difficulty with remembering, especially words and stuff like that, that does not equate to the situation that I grew up in, like the amount of trauma that I had as a child
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily equate to how much like memory loss and stuff I have. And I think that some of that comes from this conversation of like, okay, yes, there's this neurotypical experience of like what's come from your parents, but there's also like this neurodiverse experience where it's coming from, yes, parents and how you're raised, but also how your nervous system was responding to the environment around you,
Exactly.
how you were responding to being undiagnosed and experiencing the world, like all this stuff of like
Exactly.
little t trauma that adds up, but isn't like the fault of anyone. Like, because I was always like, well, my parents weren't bad parents. My like,
Totally.
yeah, like I didn't have, like you said, you had a lot of support. You were definitely in an
Yeah.
environment where people showed you love and commitment and like all that stuff. But also, there's still that trauma of, they didn't know, we didn't know.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I love how you say that. And I think it's something that I've really tried to work through in terms of like, gosh, well, I was securely attached with my parents. So then was it like middle school when I was being bullied or like when I
Right. When
really
did
stopped
it like
feeling it and like
mm,
coming up with this one experience I had that like fucked me up for the rest of my life when
right.
really you're right. It's all the little T traumas of growing up autistic ADHD
Hmm.
and not fitting in and like not having the tools. Like this was literally developed in 2025,
Yeah.
you know? And I just there's not enough money in this kind of research because this is going to change my life just knowing this kind of stuff and
Yeah.
seeing people and being able to show up for myself in a more loving, neurodivergent, affirming way.
Yeah.
So,
Oh.
yeah, we love these kinds of episodes where we learn things about ourselves.
Yeah. Mm,
Well, that was all I had for us today.
okay,
Yeah,
great. Yeah, I think that's a good stopping point.
great. Well, find your joy. Sorry.
Be unapologetically you this week.
And I don't know, figure out your attachment style. But that's not what I want you to do. Look into this theory and see if you relate.
Yeah, cool.
All
Thanks so much
right.
for sharing with us, McKenna. You're welcome. Bye, guys.
Anytime. Thanks for joining us this week. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Music.
Please like, subscribe, and leave us a review. We could use some of those if you want to get pictures.